Hello everyone, Theophilus here. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to make a message called Order Before Discipline. So, if you're looking at this kind of content, chances are you're at least interested in self-improvement. Maybe you're making progress. Maybe you're not making progress. Maybe you're just starting. Maybe you're wondering, okay, where do I start? Right? There's things you know you need to do. You're probably asking yourself, how do I do them? Right? Every day there's things that need to be done. But what you as an individual have to understand is that you only have so much mental energy. I like to look at, say, David Goggins if I look at TikTok. If I do, I'll look at something like that. And, it's good. It's good. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to just rely on how you feel. You don't want to just rely on motivation. Because you're still just doing what you feel like doing. And what you're going to find is that in doing the work that needs to be done, you're often not going to feel like doing it. But you have to do it anyways. So, if you've been looking at some kind of self-development content for, say, an extended period of time, you probably already know that you can't rely on motivation. I hope you're there. And if not, then you need to get there. And it's just a change of mindset. You need to understand the purpose of discipline. Right? If you understand that you need to be disciplined, the next question is, well, how do you do it? That's what this message is about. You have to have order before you can have discipline. Ask you a question. A lot of your mental energy is spent deciding, processing emotions, organizing your day. Right? How much of your energy is going towards doing those things? And how much of your energy is spent just in the la la land of mental chaos? If you start trying to focus on how much you're thinking about random things and you try to track your thoughts, you're going to realize that a lot of your thoughts are just dumb. A lot of your thoughts are just focusing on all these random things that don't matter and that are not important. One thing you have to know is that you only have so much mental energy. So what happens with a lot of people is they wake up. My phone's right here, but I would grab my phone as an example to show you. But they wake up, scroll. Message, scroll. I can catch myself doing this, but I do even thank God that for a fair amount of time I don't do that. A lot of days I don't do that. A lot of days I don't wake up and just check the phone. I try to wake up and think what needs to be done. Then I try to get started on doing it. But a lot of people wake up, scroll. You're already failing. You're already losing. You're already losing the battle. You're already losing the day. You're already... Not that it's the end of the world, but just know that you're starting your day in a terrible mindset. You may have heard the phrase, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Now, I don't believe that to be that true. I don't know how true that is. In fact, if you're doing office work or you're not working or you're not doing any physical labor, you probably don't even need to eat breakfast. That's kind of for another day, but that can add to this, because when you're kind of hungry and your body gets used to it, it can kind of use that hunger as fuel, and it can bring clarity and help you focus. There's a lot of people some people like fast and stuff like that, because they're not so focused on food and how they feel and stuff like that. their mind is more focused, it's more clear, like your thoughts are more crystallized. But they say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I don't know how true that is, but I would say the principle applies for mental, or you could say spiritual. What you're thinking about in the beginning of the day are some of the most important thoughts of the day. Because you're ordering your mind, or you could say you're setting your mind in the mode you want it to be in for the day. And it's hard to like switch, if it makes sense what I'm saying. So there's things that need to be done. If you wake up and you start thinking what needs to be done, you're making some progress. That's good. But then I think it goes a little bit deeper. Because you do have to order your day, absolutely. But you also have to order your mind. That's a problem I think most people are facing. They're not ordering their mind. They're not learning how to focus. If you wake up, you're scrolling, you're already losing. But if you wake up and you're not putting your mind in a focused mindset, well, you're still losing. Maybe not as hard, maybe a little bit slower, but you're still losing. How much of your thinking goes to complaining, scrolling, overthinking, indulging in bad habits, etc.? How much of your mental energy goes to that? Right? This is what a lot of people do. I can catch myself doing this too, by the way, but I'm learning to not do that. To not do this. Wake up, scroll. Stimulation, dopamine. And then you're already dull, you're already numb, you're already not there. You're already practicing escapism because you don't want to face your reality. So what you're doing is you're trying to find as many ways to escape reality as possible. Then maybe you get up, you go to work, you go to school, or whatever you're doing. If you don't go to work and you don't go to school, then you really need to be finding something to do with your time and your energy, because that's important. They say an idle mind is the devil's playground. Then let's say you go to work. Oh, I hate this job. Oh, I don't want to do this. Boss is talking to you in a disrespectful way. You're mad, you're upset, you're frustrated, or you're sad. You go through work, just thinking about, I don't like doing this. And then you're just in a complaining mindset for several hours of the day. And maybe you're thinking, I wish I could be doing this terrible habit right now. Or I wonder if this girl texts me back. I wonder about it. And your mind's just distracted. It's chaotic. And you're not focused. A lot of people spend many hours of the day doing that. They switch between doing that, and then talking to people, then doing a work task, then being distracted, daydreaming, looking at their phone, then doing a little bit more work. And if you could understand how much work is actually being done, you'd probably be like a little scared or a little bit worried. Like, wow, I'm actually not really working very much. And then maybe there's a little bit of stress because there's the pressure from the work. Then you're like trying to get the task done a little bit. So maybe you lock in a little bit, you focus a little bit. Lunchtime. Scroll. Talk to your friends. Back to work. You feel all full. You feel all sluggish. You're like, I don't want to go back to work. And everyone's just kind of moping around. You work for a little bit, you work for a little bit, work for a little bit, and you're talking to people. You're talking to people, you're having fun, you make some jokes. You're like, oh, it's 2:30, it's 3:30, it's 4:30, I can't wait to get home. Workday ends, clock out, scroll, maybe listen to music. I can do this. I'll admit, sometimes I listen to music. But it's good to at least be conscious of the fact that you're doing it. I often choose to intentionally not listen to music because I just like to be focused on what I'm gonna do next. A lot of people do that, and they go home to their home environment, whether they live with themselves, they live with a partner, or they live with parents, and then they just and it's just dopamine time. As a man, Denmo used to say, nummy time. And it's, unfortunate what happened with Denmo. I don't know what's going on with that man anymore, but regardless of what you think about the man had some insight. He had some understanding about things. If you don't know who Denmo is, I'm not going to explain who he is, but you can learn about who he is. He talks a lot about social skills, and also he talks about like the terrible habits people do, and he explains them very deeply. And he explains that most men, once like 8 o'clock hits, it's like nummy time. Time to go numb. Time to just scroll. Even if that's looking at things you shouldn't look at on certain websites. And just hyper stimulating your mind. And what you're doing is you're actually exhausting your mind even further than it was already. I mean, you have so much mental energy, but you're like hyper exhausting the energy that you do have on those bad habits by overwhelming and overloading the senses. And the only way to not do that is to have clear focus for what you need to do for the day. That's the only way to not do that. Thank God that I haven't been scrolling TikTok. I woke up around maybe 6. But don't just focus on like the bad things that you're doing. Like, oh, I'm overthinking again. I'm scrolling. You want to catch yourself doing it, and then acknowledge that I'm doing this because my mind is not focused and my mind is not structured. That's why I'm doing this. That's like the real reason why this is being done. It's because I'm not focused. My mind is not structured. I don't have clear vision for what I need to be doing. If you don't know what you're going to do, how are you going to do it? Of course you're going to wander. Of course you're just going to scroll and lollygag and be in la la land and just thinking about all these random things. Because you don't have any vision for what you're going to do. You don't have any purpose. You're just wandering aimlessly. When the mind becomes chaos, the day becomes chaos. That's where distraction comes in. That's when like you're spending the rest of your day just deciding, what do I want to do for the day? What do I want to eat? Am I gonna hang out with friends? Am I gonna do this? Am I gonna do that? Scrolling. That's when those habits start coming in, because you're just wandering. When you know what you need to do, when you're ordering your day right, discipline follows naturally. Then you have a reason to like resist that urge to scroll. You have a reason to like resist that urge to like go on whatever website you're going on. You have a reason to resist that. There's like purpose behind it, right? You order the mind, you focus your attention, then the discipline just comes right after. It comes naturally, it comes easily. Then all that's left is execution. Then you're like, oh, Now I just need to do the thing that needs to be done. Now that's all there is, right? Then discipline isn't this hard, gritty, like, don't want to, I don't want. It's not going to be that hard. It's not going to be that difficult. That's the only way I'm able to not do those things, by the way. It's to have clear vision for what I need to do and then to focus on executing that. That's the only way I'm not just smoking weed and looking at all these terrible websites and spending hours trying to text all these girls. That's the only reason I'm not doing all that. And then if I do that, I'll think, oh, when did I stop being disciplined? When did I stop being focused? What was it that I should have been doing that I didn't do? Then you can acknowledge where you're falling short, and then you can find out where you want to target, like a surgeon. You want to find out where the weak point is. You want to know, where am I going wrong? And then you want to correct that kink. You want to fix the problem there. Oh, well, when I go home, then I eat a big old fat meal. I just sit and I watch funny videos on YouTube. And then it's 8 o'clock, it's 9 o'clock, it's 10 o'clock. I mean, I don't feel like looking at online business. I don't feel like processing my emotions. I don't feel like doing a little exercise to wear my body and mind out a little bit more before I go to sleep. I don't feel like meditating. I don't feel like journaling. I don't feel like doing any of that. I feel like watching TV. If you can understand where you're losing focus, that's half the battle. Then it's just executing. You hear a lot of people talking about doing what needs to be done. I still listen to Andrew Tate. He's still speaking wisdom. Regardless if you like the man or not, you can at least acknowledge that the man is an intellectual man who knows what he's talking about and who has a message that if you listen to it and you do the things that he's saying to do, you'll find yourself making progress in life and not just being a victim to your circumstance. But yeah, you'll do what needs to be done and it won't be that difficult. Order before discipline. Also, side note, I am building a free online school community currently. It doesn't have that many people, but I'm inviting anyone that will want to join and want to talk and discuss and just talk about things about self-improvement. I'll probably put the link in the description, just if you want to check it out and see what I'm talking about or have an idea of what I'm trying to do. But that's all for y'all. Be disciplined, be focused, conquer the day. Or if you're watching this at night and you haven't conquered the day, pick up a journal. Find out where you're losing your focus. And focus your mental energy on how you're going to solve that problem. That's all. Thank y'all. I'll see y'all in the next one.